Hey guys, it's Eric here at Farpoint Farms. Hey, tonight we're going to continue the series of radio readiness, radios to have in the middle of a disaster. And if you've been following the series, in part one, we talked about having simple AM, FM, and sometimes shortwave radios is a big help. And in part two, we talked about the radio that was the most helpful in the most recent disaster that I lived through, Hurricane Helene. And that was scanner radio, which was kind of a surprise to me, and I'm sure to a lot of you as well. Well, tonight we're taking a look at the three types of two-way radio that could come in handy during a disaster. And that would be, in no particular order, GMRS/FRS communications, CB radio communications, and ham communications. And even though this is an HF rig, let's just dump HF and 2 meter together just for the sake of ham radio as a radio source. So in Hurricane Helene, it was far more important, it turned out, for me to hear what was going on around me than for me to give any kind of information out. I had very little information to give. Of course, for local neighbors, if they needed water, we have a spring here, so we were able to get water without electricity. But beyond that, I really had nothing to offer or nothing to add to the conversation. That's not always going to be the case. It's entirely possible that there are going to be opportunities during a disaster that you do have information that you wish to share or relay. Now, with cell service completely blown away here during Helene and in Hurricane Fran, which was back in '96, no landlines for 14 days either. And I'm not sure exactly why that was, but it must have done some significant damage to one of the substations, is all I can imagine. We were stuck with these as choices of two-way communication. Years ago, I made a video about emergency communications during Hurricane Fran and how much CB radio saved the day. It was a huge help back in that time to finding out where water was available, where gas was available, and where food or shelter was available for those that needed it. These days, though, CB radio, while still very popular, is kind of running neck and neck with FRS/GMRS communications. And of course, ham radio is perfect for disasters on a larger scale. And so that's where it comes down to. This episode, this topic is a little more complex than just, hey, what's the best choice? Because this comes down to what's the best choice in a particular type of disaster. In this area, ham radio was not helpful, unfortunately, because I don't have access to the 2 meter repeater that most people can pick up from their property in the surrounding counties. Just the way that I'm situated here with mountains on the side that block signal, so I just don't get to hit that Mount Mitchell repeater that apparently the rest of the planet was able to. My understanding after the fact from talking to friends was that it was quite useful for people finding out where to find shelter and whatnot. But in my case, I would have to say that in not all situations will 2 meter be there to save the day. Of course, HF, which is great for talking to people all over the world and all over the country, really doesn't help you a whole lot when you're talking about a local disaster. But if a disaster occurred on a national scale, and unfortunately that's a reality we have to consider, HF radio would then become the most important method of two-way communications. It might be important for you to know that an entire state is going to be evacuated due to some unknown event, an asteroid, a volcano, an EMP, whatever it might be. In that case, that HF with the extreme long ranges that you can communicate would become critical in a disaster of that nature. And shortwave radio, as far as being able to receive, would also become the critical, most important method of receiving information. In a statewide issue, well, then it comes down to basically CB radio, or if you have access to a repeater that's functional, 2 meter radio. Now, CB radio has been around for a very long time, almost as long as ham radio in general, but it has the advantage of having more units produced and more units in circulation than any other type of radio you can consider. GMRS, while popular in some areas, just doesn't have the saturation level that CB radio has when it comes to people who have these things stuffed into their attic or into their garage or in their basement or still installed in their car or home. There are something like 42 million CB radios that have been sold here in the United States, and that puts that typical two-way communication as the number one way that people would try to communicate in a local disaster. Maybe it's the full state, maybe it's several states, but what I found during Helene is that most of the disasters that we're talking about could be national, but your problems are quite local. I don't have water. I don't have food. I don't have shelter. I don't really care what's going on in Missouri right now. I have those three concerns that I have to deal with. And so again, it's interesting to note going through this process that like I have prepared, I wouldn't consider myself a prepper, but I've prepared for a lot of contingencies that might come up as far as emergencies, right? After living through Fran really changed my outlook on what to be ready for when it comes to natural disasters or other disasters. So of course I have what we would want to have, the trifecta, right? I've got GMRS, I have CB, and I have ham radio available here. But I have to point out, if I'm going to choose one item out of the three to go with, it would probably be a tie between a 2-meter radio and ham, or just an 11-meter, aka CB radio, to have either in your car or at your house. And that's going to surprise a lot of people. I know that there are a lot of old-time ham users who might balk at that idea. But I think if you really think about the situation, and some of you may not have had the misfortune of living through even one disaster, let alone two. But I think if you think about that situation where your needs and your neighbor's needs are going to be immediate needs, then the need to communicate for several thousand miles really becomes not only unnecessary, but just unneeded at the time. Like we're just not going to turn it on. I turned on that radio exactly 0 times, and I left this radio and the GMRS radio and the scanner radio on scan for several hours every day. Now, for the first 2 days after Hurricane Helene, everything was silent. There was no local AM radio stations that were broadcasting, or FM for that matter. Scanner was quiet because everyone was scrambling to dump digital and to go back to analog. 2-meter, like I said, here was ineffective. Simplex transmissions you could get back and forth, but nobody had power. People weren't doing this. People don't have setups that are just waiting to flip a switch to go to battery power. It's just not the reality of the world we're living in. I'm kind of a lucky guy when it comes to that because I run my house off of solar already. So it was just a matter of literally plugging into the right outlet and all this stuff is powered back up. But that's not the case for many people. Sure, we have gas generators, but in a disaster, what was more critical? Getting on the radio and talking with people, or making sure that refrigerator and freezer weren't going to get warm and ruin all the food you had in there? These are the things that were probably might sound like a surprise to a lot of you, but they're the reality of an actual emergency. So after the second day, on day 3, we still didn't have local AM or FM radio, but CB started to occasionally come to life. Local people talking about road closures, talking about detours, things like that. And it wasn't so much individuals giving information to the world. Like no one was broadcasting saying, hey, it's 11 o'clock. Here's information you need to know. It was literally conversations between people who were trying to figure out where they needed to be. And in that case, although I didn't have many communications with them, I just chose not to talk to them because I had nothing to add to the conversation. Most of the time, that was people who were bringing up supplies from areas that hadn't been as hard affected. And so those were convoys, so to speak, of relief products, goods. A lot of that was taking place on CB, but almost an equal amount was taking place on GMRS. And the scanner that I had, the analog scanner, picked up FRS and GMRS contacts. So I was basically just running these two. Even though I left GMRS on and scanning, I basically was listening to my scanner and to my CB radio for the most part. So to wrap up this video, and I know I've kind of rambled a bit, but it's a little harder to make this because of so many what ifs. If you were going to pick out one radio, I'd probably still stick with CB radio because it's the most local form of communication and the most likely to get somebody to answer on the other side, even in 2026. If I was going to pick a second one, it would probably be a 2-meter radio. But with that, of course, you do have to become a licensed ham. And that's a big point for a lot of people. People don't have time, the money, or the desire to go through the licensing process. That's just the reality of modern Americans. We're fast-paced and we don't dwell on certain subjects for very long. So when it comes to getting licensure and going through all the motions, it's a hard task for many people to do. Now, GMRS and FRS are also something you're supposed to get a license for, and I'm not telling you not to get a license for it, but I think somewhere around 80 to 85% of conversations on GMRS or FRS are unlicensed. Well, FRS doesn't need licensing, but GMRS conversations are just unlicensed conversations. I don't think the FCC is really patrolling the airwaves like they used to, much like they do with CB now. Then lastly, if it was a global catastrophe and you had some critical information that the world needed to know, well, an HF ham radio is still going to be the solution to that problem. Now, I guess that's where I'm going to leave it. And I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. In our next video, we'll talk about the ultimate guide to disaster radio preparedness. I hope you'll stick around for that, and I'll see you next time. Take care.